Engineering controls eliminate or reduce exposure to chemical or physical hazards through the use or substitution of engineered machinery or equipment. Examples include self-capping syringe needles, ventilation systems such as a fume hood, sound dampening materials to reduce noise levels, safety interlocks, and radiation shielding. A chemical hygiene plan is a written document developed and implemented by your university which sets forth procedures, equipment, personal protective equipment, and work practices that are capable of protecting laboratory workers from the health hazards presented by hazardous chemicals used in your particular workplace, and that meets the requirements of 29 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Part 1910.1450, Paragraph E. For the purpose of this program, a laboratory worker is a principal investigator, course or laboratory instructor, faculty member, technician, laboratory assistant, teaching assistant, research assistant, student, or visitor to the laboratory. The purpose of a chemical hygiene plan, CHP, is to outline laboratory work practices and procedures that are necessary to ensure that members of the university community are protected from health hazards associated with chemicals in your laboratory environment. The regulation defines a laboratory as a workplace where relatively small quantities of hazardous chemicals are used on a non-production basis and is a facility which meets the following conditions. Multiple chemical procedures or chemicals are used. The procedures are not and do not simulate production processes. Chemical manipulations are performed. The potential for laboratory worker exposure to hazardous chemicals is minimized by the use of protective laboratory practices and equipment. Laboratory use of hazardous chemicals is the handling or use of such chemicals in which all of the following conditions are met. Chemical manipulations are carried out on a laboratory scale. Multiple chemical procedures or chemicals are used. The procedures involved are not part of a production process, nor in any way simulate a production process, and protective laboratory practices and equipment are available and in common use to minimize the potential for exposure to hazardous chemicals. OSHA defines a hazardous chemical as a substance for which there is statistically significant evidence based on at least one scientific study showing that acute or chronic harm may result from exposure to that chemical.